What happens when a daytime talk show host, known for her bubbly charm and razor-sharp wit, invites a reclusive star whose life has been dissected under the glare of tabloids and courtrooms? The air hummed with anticipation, a fragile veil over the storm brewing beneath. The set of Live with Kelly was a cozy enclave in the heart of New York City's bustling studio district, bathed in the warm glow of overhead lights that mimicked morning sunlight. Two plush armchairs faced each other at a slight angle, their deep blue velvet worn just enough to suggest countless confessions and laughs. Between them sat a low glass table, its surface polished to a mirror sheen, reflecting the faint outlines of clip-on microphones and a pair of untouched water glasses. No massive audience here, just a small studio crowd of about 50, seated in tiered rows, their faces illuminated by the soft spill from the stage. 3 cameras loomed, a wide angle capturing the full scene, a mid-shot trained on the guest's chair, and a close-up on the host, ready to zoom in on every flicker of expression. The air carried the subtle scent of fresh coffee from the green room and the metallic tang of production equipment. A faint hum emanated from the lights, punctuated by the occasional whir of camera motors adjusting focus. Kelly Ripa stepped onto the set first, her heels clicking softly against the polished floor. At 55, she was a fixture of daytime television, her petite frame clad in a tailored emerald dress that caught the lights like dew on leaves. Her smile was genuine, honed from years of interviewing everyone from presidents to pop stars, but today there was a subtle tension in her shoulders, a memory flashing of past segments that had veered off script, leaving her to steer back with grace. She settled into her chair, crossing her legs and tapping her pen lightly against her note cards, the sound a rhythmic anchor in the pre-show quiet. From the control room, a muted whisper filtered through, 30 seconds to live. Kelly nodded imperceptibly, her blue eyes steady. Johnny Depp entered next, his stride measured, almost theatrical. The actor, in his early 60s, wore a rumpled linen shirt under a leather jacket, his signature rings glinting as he waved to the audience. His hair was tousled, a scar faint under his collar, a remnant from some long-ago adventure, or so the stories went. The small crowd erupted in applause, a wave of cheers that he acknowledged with a crooked grin, but his eyes scanned the set warily, like a man entering a familiar yet treacherous arena. He sank into the opposite chair, the velvet sighing under his weight, and clipped on his microphone with practiced ease. The wire snaked down his chest, a thin reminder of the exposure to come. Kelly leaned forward slightly, her voice warm and inviting as the cameras rolled. "Johnny, thank you so much for being here. It's been a while since we've seen you on this side of the screen. How are you feeling today?" Depp chuckled, a low rumble that carried a hint of gravel from years of cigarettes and late nights. He shifted in his seat, the chair creaking faintly. "Kelly, I'm alive. That's something, right? Grateful to be here, talking to you." His tone was polite, but there was an edge, like a blade sheathed in velvet. He glanced at the audience, their phones already poised, and his smile tightened just a fraction. The small talk flowed easily at first, a scripted dance to ease into the hour. Kelly asked about his latest projects, a quirky indie film he directed, whispers of a Pirates reboot. "What's drawing you back to the director's chair these days? Is it the control, the freedom?" Depp leaned back, crossing one leg over the other, his boot tapping softly against the table leg. "Control? Nah, it's more like chaos management. Filmmaking's like herding cats on a sinking ship, exhilarating when it doesn't drown you." The audience laughed, a ripple of amusement that he soaked in, but his fingers drummed on the armrest, a subtle tell of underlying restlessness. Kelly nodded, her pen pausing mid-tap. She remembered a similar interview years ago with another star, how the laughter had masked deeper fissures. "And family? You've got kids who've grown up in the spotlight too. How do you navigate that world with them?" He paused, his gaze dropping to the table's reflection for a beat. "My kids, they're my anchor. We keep things private, you know? The world's hungry for every scrap, but some things aren't for consumption." His voice softened there, a transient flash of vulnerability like a crack in armor, revealing the man beneath the myth. He swallowed, eyes flicking to the lights overhead, where the hum seemed to grow louder in the brief silence. The probes deepened gradually, the false calm giving way to subtle pressure. Kelly steered toward his legacy, the roles that had defined him, from Edward Scissorhands to Captain Jack Sparrow. "You've created these iconic characters, Johnny. But looking back, How do you feel about the industry's churn, the way it builds you up and then, well, sometimes tears you down? Depp's jaw tightened imperceptibly, his ringed fingers interlacing. The industry? It's a beast with a short memory. You give it your blood, and it asks for more. But I've learned to dance with it, not let it lead. He deflected smoothly, reframing the question into an anecdote about a wild on-set mishap, drawing laughs from the audience. Yet, as he spoke, his boot tapped faster, a micro-rhythm betraying the control he clung to. Camera tight on Depp's face, catching the subtle shift in his eyes, a mix of charm and caution. Offstage, a producer exchanged glances with an assistant, their whispers lost in the hum. Kelly pressed gently, pivoting to the past. Your career's had its highs and controversies. The public trials, literally and figuratively. How has that shaped your view on legacy? Do you think about how history will remember you? He bristled slightly, though his smile held. Legacy? That's for others to scribble after I'm gone. I've faced the fire, Kelly. Walked through it. What doesn't kill you, well, you know the rest. He leaned forward, his voice dropping an octave. But let's be real, the media loves a villain arc easier to sell than the truth. The friction between public and private began to crackle. Kelly set down her pen, the soft clink echoing in the pause. Speaking of truth, Johnny, you've been vocal about privacy. In an age where visibility is currency, how do you reconcile that with the platforms you've built? Is privacy a luxury, or a right stolen by fame? Depp's eyes narrowed, a sardonic twist to his lips. Privacy isn't a luxury, it's the last bastion against the thieves. Visibility? That's not choice, it's theft wrapped in spotlights. You think I chose every headline? No, they carve you up and serve the pieces. His words were sharp, aphorisms honed from experience, but there was a pause after, his hand rubbing the scar under his collar, a gesture almost involuntary, hinting at wounds deeper than skin. The audience stirred, a few murmurs rippling through. A phone screen lit up in the front row, capturing the moment. Kelly felt a flash of fatigue, the weight of balancing spectacle and substance, but she pushed on, her voice empathetic yet firm. I get that. But with great platforms come expectations. Do you ever feel the burden of that exposure on others, fans, family, even those who shared your story? He countered swiftly. Burden? Try privilege laced with poison. I've lost pieces of myself to the narrative machine. Authenticity? That's what I fight for, not the curated version the world demands. The moral pivot arrived like a slow-building wave. Kelly's questions sharpened, transitioning from curiosity to ethical framing. Johnny, let's talk accountability. In your journey, you've spoken about trauma, yours and others. But humility, does that play a role? When the spotlight reveals flaws, is there a point where one must own the consequences, not just the narrative? Depp's posture stiffened, the chair creaking as he uncrossed his legs. Accountability? I've owned more than my share. But humility doesn't mean rolling over for the mob. Trauma isn't a scorecard, Kelly. It's messy, real. And gendered? Don't get me started, men bleed too, but the world expects us to stitch it up quietly. His voice rose slightly. Contempt edging in, but a flicker crossed his face, a momentary vulnerability, eyes distant as if recalling a private ache. Wide shot pulls back as tension rises, the audience leaning forward, breaths held. A control room murmur leaked through, keep it steady. Kelly leaned in, her expression composed but incisive. She tapped her pen once more, a deliberate beat. Fair point. But privilege and trauma aren't mutually exclusive. You've had both the wounds and the platform. When you control the story, do you consider the double standards? The way your visibility might eclipse others' truths? He deflected with a laugh, swallowed midway. Eclipse? I'm just trying not to get burned out. Authenticity versus performance, that's the real game. I'm not performing now, this is me. The escalation peaked. Kelly's reservoir of authority surfaced fully, her voice measured but laced with moral weight. Johnny, with respect, when does deflection become denial? You've built a life on enigma, but accountability isn't optional. If trauma wounds us all, humility demands we don't weaponize our pain against others. Isn't that the ethical line? The studio inhaled collectively, the hum of lights suddenly deafening in the silence. Depp's breath quickened, his fist tightening on the armrest, knuckles whitening. The chair scraped faintly as he shifted forward, microphone wire taut like a string about to snap. Then, the eruption. Depp shot to his feet, the chair tipping back with a clatter that echoed through the set like a gunshot. The audience gasped, a collective intake sharp enough to cut the air. Ethical line? You sit there in your polished chair, playing judge and jury, but you've got no idea what it's like to be carved up alive. His voice boomed, unfiltered now, the microphone amplifying every gravelly edge. He ripped the clip-on mic from his shirt, the wire whipping free with a metallic snap, and flung it onto the table. It skittered across the glass, knocking over a water glass that spilled in slow motion, liquid pooling like spilled secrets. Kelly remained seated, her composure a fortress, though inside, a flash of regret mingled with resolve. She'd pushed for truth, but spectacle had claimed the stage. "Johnny, wait," she started, her voice steady but laced with urgency, hand half raised in a gesture of de-escalation. But he was already turning, his leather jacket swinging as he strode toward the wings. The cameras swiveled frantically, wide shot capturing the chaos, mid on Depp's retreating back, close up on Kelly's face, where a flicker of fatigue deepened the lines around her eyes. Offstage, the producer bolted from the control room, headset askew, whispering urgently into her radio. Cut to commercial. Now. But the feed lingered a beat too long, the small audience frozen, phones raised, capturing the walkout in grainy vertical video. A young woman in the front row exchanged wide-eyed glances with her friend, mouths agape. An older man shook his head, murmuring something about Hollywood drama. The faint hum of the lights persisted, now underscored by the rustle of shifting seats and muffled exclamations. Depp vanished into the green room shadows, the door slamming behind him with a thud that vibrated through the floor. Inside, he paced like a caged animal, rings clinking against his palms as he clenched and unclenched his fists. The room smelled of stale coffee and makeup remover, a stark contrast to the set's artificial warmth. He caught his reflection in a mirror, hair disheveled, eyes wild, and for a moment, vulnerability cracked through again, a memory of courtrooms, headlines, the weight of public dissection. "Damn it," he muttered, sinking onto a couch, head in hands. Privilege and trauma collided in his chest. He'd fought for control, but exposure had stripped it away once more. His phone buzzed incessantly, texts from his agent, publicist, friends, but he ignored it, the scar under his collar itching like an old wound reopened. Back on set, Kelly signaled to the crew, her pen abandoned on the table amid the spill. "We're going to break," she announced to the audience, her smile professional but strained, voice projecting calm over the undercurrent of shock. The small crowd murmured, applause tentative as the house lights brightened. Crew members swarmed, a stagehand mopping the water, another resetting the chair with a scrape that grated on nerves. In the control room, the director paced, phone pressed to ear. "This is gold or a lawsuit. Get legal on the line." Whispers filtered through, "Did you see his face? She's unflappable." Kelly retreated to her dressing room briefly, splashing water on her face, the coolness a balm against the heat of the moment. She thought of media ethics, the line between responsibility and spectacle she'd towed so carefully, now blurred by the fallout. A quick glance at her phone showed notifications piling up, clips already circulating, the internet's voracious appetite awakened. The immediate aftermath unfolded like a digital wildfire. Within minutes, snippets hit social media, X, Instagram, TikTok, #Depp walkout, #Kelly clash. A viral clip from an audience member's phone showed Depp's mic toss, looped with dramatic music, when the pirate snaps. Comments exploded, "Johnny's had enough of the BS," from fans, countered by "Kelly called him out, about time someone did." Memes proliferated, Depp's face photoshopped onto storming pirates, Kelly as a courtroom judge. X trends spiked, posts dissecting every line. One user wrote, "Privacy versus accountability, Depp's deflecting, but Ripa's right on gendered standards." Another, "He's traumatized, she's privileged, both sides valid?" The algorithm amplified the divide, threads unraveling into arguments about authenticity, performance, and who owned the narrative. In the studio lobby, Depp's team hustled him out a side exit, dodging paparazzi who had materialized like shadows. Flashbulbs popped, questions shouted, "Johnny, what set you off?" He slipped into a waiting SUV, the door thudding shut, tires squealing as it pulled away. Inside, he scrolled through the storm on his phone, a sardonic laugh escaping. Visibility's theft, all right. But beneath the contempt, a pang. Had he weaponized his pain, as she'd implied? The drive to his hotel blurred, city lights streaking like accusations. His publicist called, damage control. Statement? He dictated one, terse, interviews should seek truth, not spectacle. Respect to Kelly, but some lines aren't for crossing. It posted immediately, garnering likes and retweets, but also backlash, accusations of entitlement, echoes of past controversies. Kelly wrapped the show with a filler segment, her energy dialed up to mask the void. Post-broadcast, she debriefed with producers in a huddle, voices low. "We aired it live, can't unring that bell." Her co-host, absent that day, texted support, "You handled it like a pro." But as she left the studio, fans lingered outside, some cheering, others critical, too harsh on Johnny. She waved politely, slipping into her car, the doors click, a small relief. At home that evening, she poured a glass of wine, the liquid's glug echoing in the quiet kitchen. Scrolling news sites, she saw the headlines, Depp storms off live interview, Ripa's moral stand sparks debate. A personal consequence settled in, a reservoir of authority tested, perhaps tarnished. Friends messaged, but she replied sparingly, pondering the themes that had unraveled, control slipping, privilege clashing with wounds. Had she exposed truth or fueled the machine? The social media storm crested overnight, views climbing into millions. Analysts on evening shows dissected it. This highlights media's ethical tightrope, fairness versus clicks. Depp's fans rallied with petitions for boycotts, while others praised Kelly's incisiveness. Gendered double standards surfaced in op-eds. Would a female guest walk out and be called defiant or hysterical? Authenticity debates raged. Was Depp's outburst real or a curated performance? One viral thread compiled clips of his past interviews, contrasting charm with combativeness, underscoring his complexity. By morning, personal ripples extended. Depp, holed up in his suite, fielded calls from collaborators, a project delayed, whispers of unpredictable. He sketched absent-mindedly on hotel stationery, rings smudging the lines. A therapeutic release amid the chaos. Vulnerability lingered. He texted his kids, brief assurances, all good, just noise. But the walkout's echo haunted. Had he reclaimed narrative, or lost it further? Kelly faced her own fallout. Network execs commended the ratings boost but cautioned restraint. Spectacle sells, but ethics endure. At breakfast with her family, she downplayed it, but her husband's knowing look prompted a confession. "I pushed for humility, but maybe I lacked some too." The day brought apologies via intermediaries, no direct reconciliation, but a mutual nod to the frayed boundaries. In the end, the clash resonated beyond the set, a narrative consequence etched in public memory. Depp emerged more reclusive, channeling energy into art over appearances, his platform a double-edged sword now wielded with caution. Kelly continued hosting, her interviews infused with newfound nuance, balancing exposure with empathy, aware that truth often fractures before it heals. The scar under Depp's collar faded from view, but the themes endured, control wrested back, trauma acknowledged, media's spectacle tempered by quiet reflection. The studio lights hummed on for the next show, but the air carried a subtle charge, a reminder that authenticity, once provoked, leaves no one unscathed.